want to say we're going to read Moby Dick from here.
Oh, no, you better.
We're going to read
Moby. Oh, no, you got to stretch Moby Dick way out. No. Wait, go. Right, there you go. Keep going. Keep going.
It's going to take us that long. Reading schedule.
It'll take that long just to read the annotations.
It's time for the DevCast. This will be episode 7. Claris Studio is our topic. I'm your host and citizen developer, Dan Smiley, and with me today I have the team from Portage Bay Solutions led by John Newhoff. John, good morning. Where are you and how are you doing?
I'm doing well this morning. I'm up on Whidbey Island for our family's 4th of July celebrations. My brother's family is out here from California, so I'm enjoying some time with my nieces.
You have the whole team with you.
The whole non-development team.
Yeah, roger that. And Kate, you're in California for the summer. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm keeping cool, avoiding the Texas heat. So it's nice. It's nice and foggy today.
Okay, well that's a good plan. And Jacob, you're on the road, our steely-eyed missile man. Where are you and where are you traveling to?
I'm at a Starbucks in Tehachapi, California. So en route to Seattle.
Excellent.
18 hours.
Okay, well that's why you're at Starbucks. You need all that coffee. And Zandon, welcome to the show. Where are you? Are you at home? Are you the boring one?
Thanks. No, I'm in Silo, Washington.
Excellent.
Which, next to Yakima.
God, we're all on the move. Are you with family?
Just for the yeah, with my girlfriend. Brought my kids over. We're going to go over to Silverwood this next few days. Do some of the theme park.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, enjoy yourself. And Russell, how are you and where are you at?
I'm good. I guess I'm the boring one. I'm in Stanwood, Washington right now. A little up north.
Okay, you're not actually that far. You're not actually that far from me. So, excellent.
Oh yeah, nice.
And Joe, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. Just get back from the Schwamiga National Forest last night, so I'm still catching up on things, but we'll get there.
Okay. And I'm coming to you from sailing vessel Chatham, moored in Eagle Harbor on Bainbridge Island. We're on our way, well, to see John tonight, Coopville tonight, Anacortes tomorrow, and then the day after, and then the San Juan Islands. So we're taking advantage of this fast Starlink internet, and we're good to go. So Claris Studio, I'll start off with John to talk a little about, well, what it is, what its background is. John, why are we talking about Claris Studio today?
Claris Studio has been out a little bit over a year now. And what is it? So Claris Studio is a new take on web development, a database application web development tool that Claris is developing to sit alongside FileMaker. It's a new tool that we as FileMaker developers can currently use to gather web data, anonymous web form data from our users and integrate it with our FileMaker solutions. So as an example, we used Claris Studio for an internal project to create a new customer questionnaire so we can gather information about new clients, what their billing preferences, their what kind of any information we might need to gather from them about preferences for meeting schedules, stuff like that. And we have that integrating directly into our internal FileMaker app. So it's a good alternative or a good quiver in our arrow basket of tools we can use for web forms. We can use a product like JotForm and integrate with their REST API to pull data into FileMaker. We can use FileMaker WebDirect to create a pretty full-featured web app directly in FileMaker tools. We can use a product like FileMaker Better Forms. And Claris Studio is yet another tool in that area, and it has some real advantages for us as FileMaker developers because it's fast, doesn't require us to learn HTML necessarily like WebDirect, and yet it also doesn't require us to learn a REST API and go through the programming time of integrating with the REST API. So it's a pretty slick way of doing anonymous web data gathering. Its intent, FileMaker's intent is certainly not to stop there or to even call it a web data gathering tool. Their intent is for Claris Studio to be fully capable of being used to create a full-featured web application that might, at some point in the future, probably will, even allow us to create a web app that doesn't require FileMaker at all. Right now, it's still in its early days, and we'd probably primarily only be using it in our projects anyway, where we're integrating it tightly with a FileMaker application. They are starting to work with templates in Claris Studio that don't necessarily require FileMaker. You could use the project management template that they've developed for Claris Studio to create your own standalone web-based project management application. But in some ways, it's more of a proof of concept. There's still some limitations in the development environment that would probably lead you to want to integrate with FileMaker for some capabilities, even with that project management tool. But it's based on open standard web tools, MongoDB for the data storage, Node.js, and React for the JavaScript framework. So it's built on very robust, highly scalable tools. Should stand up very well to high utilization. I think that's a pretty good basic overview of Claris Studio.
So, John, why would they base the data storage on MongoDB? Don't they own a database? It's FileMaker. Why wouldn't they use that?
That is a good question, and possibly slightly outside my pay grade. But to take a stab at it, FileMaker's database engine was designed and continues to be optimized for a certain set of use cases, a certain set of criteria, one of which isn't necessarily being simultaneously pounded on by thousands of users at the same time. So MongoDB is a NoSQL, very fast, designed from the outset to be a cloud-based data store that can support and scale to huge numbers of users. And so MongoDB gives Claris Studio the software as a service, cloud-based underpinnings to support a really robust, scalable, large number of users. So that's the main reason they chose to work with a different database engine there.
Kate, are there different versions of Claris Studio? I haven't used it. Can I get it as part of my regular FileMaker Pro license?
Well, right now it's a separate product. It's completely web-based. So you're not going to download a client like you do with FileMaker. You're not going to install a server. There's no FileMaker server. This is the first step would be making sure you have a Claris ID, and then you just go to the website, which is, I guess the URL is platform.claris.com. We can put the link in the show notes, but that, you'll log Claris ID, and then you have both the way, you're working in just the same version of Claris Studio because it's just constantly you're working on it and releasing updates to it in real time. So you're not on a previous version. You're always on the latest version of Claris Studio since it's completely web-based.
Can you show us the interface? Is there any way to give us a quick demo of what this would look like?
Yeah. Let me share my screen here. Just share my entire screen. Okay. So when you log in to Claris Studio, this is my account, so you'll see some stuff already there, but you'll have the ability to toggle between developer mode, and when you turn developer mode off, that's basically user mode. When you set up your accounts, I think because I'm a team manager, under users, that's why I'm showing up as I have admin or access to the developer mode. And that's really what you're going to be using when you go in and start creating different forms and views. So, and one thing that's interesting is Claris Studio has been out for a while, but they've really been, it changes. Like the user interface is changing. This is different than how it looked a year ago. So they're making improvements to it, and I'm going to talk about some of the new features, including the calculations. But they put this notice here that I think summarizes. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. Summarizes what, kind of, I think what Claris is doing here about that they're saying this is the calculation editor is a preview to gather customer feedback, will change significantly in future releases. This is just a first step toward our vision. And I appreciate that, because I think they're trying to get this product out in our hands as developers as quickly as possible, but knowing that this is still in its infancy and it will be changing and growing. So I think that's a helpful, side note to know when you're working in Claris Studio. And I think, John talked a lot about the forms, and I think that is definitely the go-to use case with Claris Studio, because we can have these public anonymous forms. So there's no limit on, you can send those to anybody, they can complete them and submit records. But we're not limited by, by that they don't have to have a Claris account, right? So that's a really good thing. The other views, and I'll just kind of take you guys through, getting started. So I started the whole center around your Claris Studio centers around a hub. So you start with creating a new hub, which is kind of like, I don't know how to, I guess we could call that a database. I don't know. It's different. This is much different than FileMaker, but
Is it like a
I was
bucket or
fine with
just
it.
a container for your project,
Kind of
or?
a container, but you'll see how they kind of work together. So I created this one from a template. So when you create a new hub, you can name it, so I'll just call this one demo. And then under demo, so then your new hub is there. So then you're going to add views to it. And this is new. I like this interface because I think it's nice to have a preview of what you're adding. And they've been
Oh, that's
adding
cool.
these new view types. So gallery is pretty new, timeline, calendar. The original were like spreadsheet form, list view detail. And then they also have this starter view. And right now they have project management that includes these. It's going to come with these 5
Oh, that's
views.
very
So
neat.
I think this is helpful because you really know what you're getting. So I created that view, or sorry, this template project, and just to kind of see how those work together. They added this new, it's kind of like a navigation bar at the top. So these were those 5 views that were included in my hub. So now I can just click on these to tab between. So similar to having a navigation bar at the top of your FileMaker database, let's say.
So, Kate,
And then,
is there actually like a you're not even building table relationships in this. It's happening in the background
yeah,
for you, right? It's
right. So there's no, right. There's one way to relate data, but it's not it's through a value list. So you can set up, let's see, let's go into tasks. Actually, this one's set up this way. So if I want to relate a task to a milestone, this is my list of milestones. But there's no relationship graph, or, you know, in FileMaker, there's no way to set up relationships. You know, you're dealing with one table at a time. But like I said, there is this way to link. But I'm in developer mode. Oh, I need to go up here. So if I edit this field, milestone, it's a drop down. I can choose to either have a custom list, so I can add in whatever values I want, or I can choose to use another view. And I guess you could consider a view like a table, although you can have two views that use the same table underneath. So right now I have it selecting from my milestones. I can select name, description. So then when I select here, yeah, it's going to populate with the data from this view from my milestones.
So as a FileMaker developer, is the intent really that this is integrating tightly with my traditional FileMaker solution, or does Claris believe that this will develop, and I think John said this already, that it will develop standalone web apps with no connection to FileMaker at all?
Right. So,
I think,
I mean,
yeah, I think both. I think both.
mhm.
Yeah, John, you think?
Yeah.
I think in its nature,
Um,
as MongoDB is the back end, the key there is that it is schema less, right? It doesn't have a schema. So it doesn't have your normal tables. It's scalable, and it supports big data. So it really works well for forms, but it's a completely different animal than your FileMaker solution is about collecting tables of data, of information, and relating them, because it's a NoSQL, you know, non-schema architecture.
Although
yeah, I think
Claris Studio is different than MongoDB. I mean, it's a tool that they're developing using MongoDB, but they do have, I mean, we have the concept of tables in Claris Studio.
John?
Yeah,
I think
it's got
that's an
organization.
I think that, I think
Yeah.
I think that's a very evolving area. I think I know from chatting with some Claris folks in the past that the how the schema is organized, and you know, Zandon's point is completely valid. There's no such thing as schema in a NoSQL MongoDB, but how you translate schema in FileMaker, in the FileMaker world, to a an application in written with Claris Studio is something we're going to have to be able to do as FileMaker developers who are integrating with Claris Studio. And I think that those tools are under development and being worked on, and aren't. I think those are to come in a future version of Claris Studio, because if you were to try to create a complex solution in Claris Studio now, you would certainly run up against some difficulties in how you organize your data, and to Zandon's point, you know, there isn't really in MongoDB, there isn't really concept of those tools, and yet they have to exist for us to be able to create solutions in Claris Studio. So I think that's a work in progress, and FileMaker is developing, or Claris is developing Claris Studio, you know, with an agile development approach, releasing new versions all the time, and it's still relatively early in the development cycle. So we'll see new revisions on all of this over time. And Kate was pointing that out with the calculation function we were just looking at, that even from Claris's perspective, that is a preview of how calculations will work in Claris Studio, and we can expect to see differences and improvements as that evolves over time.
Yeah, that's quite a
And I
disclaimer
can.
in the calculation engine that they put up. This is in development.
Mhm.
Please do not hold us accountable, I think is what they just said. Yes, Kate.
Well, I think
So I can
I don't think they mean
demo.
accountable. I think they mean it could change.
Yeah. I just wanted to demo what is available in terms of connecting the two. So in this FileMaker, okay, here was my idea for, we've talked about starting a Portage Bay book club at some point, mainly around tech books, but I thought, why not make it more, if we were ever going to do this, having more variety in our books. So I just downloaded this. This is from Goodreads. I think this is like 11,000 of most popular books out there, right? So I downloaded it. I put it in a FileMaker file. I'm just going to rename this called Popular Books. So here's my table. So if I want to get this table, I have to host my file. That's why it's not working. Okay, I can't demo that, but if my file was hosted here, I could click a button to migrate it over it would show up as a new view here. And it would import all the data and all the fields. So that's one way of migrating, taking data tables from a FileMaker solution and getting them into Claris Studio. And then the other way, and again, I can't show this because it's not hosted, but I don't think this is going to work. Oh, it did work. Okay, so yeah, when you open it up, you can choose a Claris Studio data source. So then I can add a data source here, which is going to link to my books from Studio table. So anything that I've put in this table will then be showing up in my FileMaker file.
Okay, so back the card up. So
yeah,
I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got a table in Claris Studio that contains data, and I'm in my database layout for the relationship graph, and I can just add a table that is from Claris Studio and then treat it like any other table in the relationship graph and make it related. And is that true?
So basically, so we were having this discussion last week. These are what we refer to in the FileMaker world as shadow tables. So you can see how this table is in italics. That tells you that this table does not actually exist in this file, but it's coming from an external data source. So you can see all the fields are in italics. So there's some limits when you have a table like this. Like I can't add a new text field. That was a calculation. Yeah, so it's already telling me I can't add any new fields, but I can add calculation and summary fields. But over here is where I can add new fields, right? Because this is where the data is actually coming from. So
and once I add a new field here in the web interface, since it's a shadow table in my solution in FileMaker, that data immediately becomes available to my solution. And then I can do summary and calculations against that new field. Is that a true statement?
Yeah. So there's that new field that I just added. And then the data, I can add either direction. So I can add a new record here. Let's say, what was our next book we're going to read? Strangers in a Strange Land.
Oh, well, look, a Robert Heinlein fan.
That's really my only science fiction that I like, but I know you all are fans, so.
Is it using
Hmm.
like a built-in feature, or is it just standard ESS, FileMaker's external SQL source that you're connecting to?
It's
I don't know enough about what's happening behind the
it's
scenes to say
definitely
for sure.
it's definitely not ESS.
Okay.
I know for sure it's not ESS. It's an underlying transport mechanism between Claris Studio and FileMaker, but it's not relying on ODBC, which is what ESS is based on.
So Kate, can you
Yeah,
show us some of
it's
these
doing.
other layouts that we can pick
Yeah.
from?
So I was thinking, so for this example, so we've got, I created this form that I'm going to make a public form. So I've already made it public, copy link. I wanted to share this with everybody. There's no share feature. Well, one thing you can do also, this is new, is being able to create a link for a pre-filled form. And I'm trying to figure out what use case this would be used for. In this situation, it doesn't really work, right? Because I want people to just put in whatever data they want to put in. I don't want to suggest, unless I do, I want to say, oh, hey, we're going to read, name an author or somebody.
Stephen King.
All right.
Stephen King books.
Stephen King. Okay, we're going to read Stephen King. So that's what you got to use. So then I copy that link and then I can send that to everybody. I'm just going to fill it out here for myself. So now I'm in this public forum, Stephen King. So, gosh, when I'm on the spot, I can't think of a Stephen King
No,
novel.
the stand.
The Shining. Oh yeah,
The
Stand.
Stand.
Eyes of the Dragon.
Okay. Submit. Yeah, my confirmation page doesn't have anything on it. So that's a basic, public form, right? So then I go back to my spreadsheet. Maybe I need to refresh. There it is. So there's the one that I submitted. So let's say another view I think that could be useful here would be timeline view. And this is important. So when you set up a new view, you've got the option to either create new. So they're calling it select data, right? But I think, again, I'm thinking of this as a table. So are we going to create a new table here, or are we going to use the same data as these other forms? And I want to use the same data. So I'm going to create that. And it's going to prompt me with a couple things. So what do I want to display? I want to display the title, the start. Oh, it wants a timestamp. Start and end and default. Let's look at over a quarter.
Man, use cases are just
Okay.
running through my mind.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, maybe we should be throwing those out, of like, yeah, as you look at this. So here, let's see, I've got my books. So if I want to add, oh, timeline 2. Okay. So I want to say we're going to read Moby Dick from here.
Oh no, you better
We're going to read
Moby.
Pride and
Oh no, you got to stretch
Prejudice.
Moby Dick way out. No, wait, go, great,
Okay.
right there you go. Keep going, keep going.
It's going to take us that long. So here's our reading schedule.
It'll take that
I
long
can
just to
add
read
a
the
color.
annotations.
Yeah, I mean, have you read Moby Dick? I mean, it's gonna take a while.
Okay. For this is, if it's Moby Dick, it's going to be red because it's that important. Where did my dates go? Here they go. Yeah. So I can do a little color coding here by putting in some conditional formatting. You can sort, you can group. When we look at the project management, it might be a better view of this, or I guess that one doesn't have this view. So this is the timeline. You can rename the timeline. Oh, I have to go back into developer mode. Edit view name. So we'll just call this our reading schedule.
It's going to take a while to develop a developer workflow, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's still, I mean, sometimes I don't realize, and this gets turned off and then go back and switch between different month, week, year view. That might be better to see what we're reading.
So if you click out of developer mode, then you're seeing what the end user is going to see.
Exactly. So then if I log in as, so first of all, I have to share this hub. So Techie Bookworms, I'm going to add Jacob and Joe and Russell and Zandon. John, you already have it. So then when they log in, they'll be able to click in here and look at the reading schedule, look at the books we've read.
Can I
That's the
attach a
form.
custom URL to the layout so that I can share, dansfavoritebooks.com versus platform.claris.com?
Not as of yet. That's not possible. But again,
Yeah, they haven't.
I imagine eventually that would be available, but
I'm sure they'll do
yeah.
that at some point. They haven't introduced custom URLs yet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I could create a URL and I could have it forward to this Claris platform.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing for our new client questionnaire. We created a URL that's portagebay.com/ something, and it redirects to the Claris Studio new client questionnaire page.
And that page, the page's URL remains static, right? There's no reason that it would change. So my forward will always work, right?
Right. I used ChatGPT to write my HTML redirect for that because I couldn't remember how to do it.
Yes, I was telling the team before we started that ChatGPT has become my favorite developer partner. I just paste formulas and
Wait
stuff
a
in it,
minute.
and I say, "Explain this to me," and it does.
Yeah,
Right? No, John,
interesting.
you're still my favorite. All right. Well,
So
actually,
we've also
Kate's my favorite, but you're second.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
Second's pretty good.
Calendar.
Oh, look at the calendar.
Maybe
That's
another
awesome.
one. I think we could work with, and this is what I always forget to come up here, and because once you create, if I create this view with a new data, I can't change the data source. So you really have to remember, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, I want this to be that data source. I'm going to display the title, start, end. Okay. So then we've got a calendar view. So that's what Moby Dick, then Pride and Prejudice is down here. We've got week view, month view. You can also click this button to show the records on the side. Oh, only unscheduled or all. So this gives me kind of like a list view next to my calendar. That's pretty nice. I mean, I think it has a nice interface to it when, if you have the right use case for how you want to use this. So then you've got, this is just kind of like a little mini database here with the different components to it.
That's
View.
great. So what other
Right?
can you quickly take us through the other views that are available?
Yeah. So spreadsheet is the most basic. There's actually a dashboard, and I'll show you that too, but you basically create it from a spreadsheet, so it's not available in this list. Form, these are the anonymous web forms, and if there's no spreadsheet associated with the form, it's going to install both when you create this view. The list detail, this is kind of like your basic, where somebody might be viewing the data, searching, or, it's just got that nicer view for data entry. The Kanban view, this one's also, helpful for categorizing, viewing data in those
Oh, I
different
like that.
columns. List view, this one's pretty cool. We can look at this one in the project management one, but it gives you this ability to kind of group and view data in this helpful, kind of sub-summary, I guess is how I define it, like a summary report section. In the gallery, this, is holding container data with, I guess, you can add a couple other fields to have the labels and categories. And this one would be helpful, I think, once we get a better way to relate data in Claris Studio, because right now I feel like you mainly want to relate images to another record generally. Although they're showing us dragging things around. So there's use for that. And then the timeline and the calendar we looked at. So I wanted to show the calculations a little bit because those are kind of cool. And that's pretty new.
One question on the charts, Kate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was told that they're not shareable outside of, anonymously. Is that true?
The charts?
Yeah, so
What
if
do
you
you
wanted to
mean
say the calendar, if you were to share it in, say, an iframe on your own website,
Yeah.
you'd have to have a Claris account, right?
Yeah, the calendar cannot be made public. That's true. Now the table view, the spreadsheet used to be able to make public, but I don't see that anymore. It's funny. So right now, I think the only public view is the form. And I think this is what I mean is like things will change. And then I'm like, I know, because I can also tell, because here's a spreadsheet these are my public shared views. And this was public, so there used to be a way. But yeah, right now, all the rest of these are just forms. So I guess they're still figuring that out. Yeah.
As I've thought of this, as Kate has demonstrated it, I was thinking that I could use it to the calendar to display my watch list for the Washington State Maritime Cooperative. I could use it to export member data. It almost looked like I could build a whole, although simple, website out of the thing rather than using Squarespace or something like that. So those are the things that jumped through my mind. Well, let's go around the room. Xandon, did you anything jump out at you as you were looking at this, thinking, "Wow, I might be able to integrate that into a existing project"?
Yeah, that was it exactly. What you're saying. I'm thinking if you could use it for sharing, a web view into whether you're gathering form data or you're able to push records into it from a FileMaker solution and have this web presence for such an easy like point of entry that like for displaying a calendar or Gantt chart or any of those, um, that would be super cool, right? Because you can do it on your own, but you have to build this. You have to build the back end structure. You have to get everything all set up, and this just makes it so much easier if you could just link it into your FileMaker solution, and then just create records in there and have that shared. That to me is really valuable. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. What about you, Russell? Has anything come to mind?
Yeah, I like the fact a lot that it's kind of a standalone thing. It's just web-based. So, if your client can't access or download FileMaker, they could still access the data and still retrieve and add records to a FileMaker. data set without actually needing the client or any of the server or the software at all. So yeah, it's a big benefit in that regard for the clients that can't get the FileMaker platform directly and still yet be able to access everything and all the extra views that they have and the continuous updating and adding of new features and views. It'll be really beneficial in the future for sure.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really exciting. I'm going to go out and get myself registered to try it out myself. Joe, anything jump out at you?
I don't want to be, Debbie Downer, but I still have yet to be, I don't know, sold on some of the features. I like the accessibility of it. I think there's a lot of potential. I think that has a long way to go before it could be really integrated into a larger solution. But it does bring up a lot of questions, but it shows a lot of promise. So I'm excited to see what happens with it.
You're not ready to introduce it to a paying client yet, though.
Not in its current state. I feel like I have a number of solutions that have the features that are already in place, and so I don't feel a need to replace them with any of the studio views. But I see a potential there.
So, Kate, you've already integrated it. What was your maybe most important use case?
I mean, I think for our client form, it's been important, and a good use case. And you can integrate it with we're working on integrating it with Claris Connect as well. So the idea is all these products work together to kind of streamline workflows. And there's features in Claris Studio we don't have in FileMaker, stuff in FileMaker we don't have in Claris Studio. So it's all kind of finding the best tool for the job. I think they're always adding new things, like even just this the calculation support and the markup support. Before you had to learn markup in order to code this, but now they've created this nice interface for being able to select different header types, and if you want things to be bulleted or numbered. I think the anonymous web form is definitely the starting point with this tool, because that seems like the most valuable component of it right now.
John, your final thoughts on Claris Studio before we close this podcast out?
I think the a graphic that Claris shared a year ago when they were introducing Claris Studio comes to mind. It was an image of a person walking down the street, and then the second frame was that same person scooting down the street on a skateboard, and the third one was that person zooming down the street on a bicycle, and the final frame was that person in a sports car zooming down the street. And Claris's point was that Claris Studio is an evolving product, and that at the time a year ago they were the person walking down the street, and now it's probably the person somewhere in between the person on the skateboard and the person on the bicycle, and we have a little ways to go to be the person in the sports car in terms of the product's capabilities. But I think it's delivering some value right now in the anonymous web forms capability, and it's an interesting tool to be working with and learning. And it is very easy to create some of these interfaces that, like Kate was showing, and I'm extremely hopeful that we'll be able to do more and more with it as the next year progresses.
Excellent. Well, yes, Sandon.
Questions. So, had you guys heard anything about API for it, where you, in order to integrate it with other things, Kate or John?
I mean,
I haven't heard anything
we can
about
use
that
Claris
yet.
Connect. We can use Claris Connect to tie it into other things for sure. I haven't seen a REST API for Claris Studio itself yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, even though it's the other question, even though it's schemaless, and this is just more of a thought, being that you're able to generate calculations on the FileMaker side once you connect your FileMaker solution to it, that sort of opens up a whole lot of other possibilities about, can you create join tables to connect that shadow table to your tables in FileMaker and connect things through joins?
I mean, as soon as you have that view as a table occurrence in FileMaker, it works exactly like any other shadow table. Yeah, so that's what I mean is there's still tables and fields in Claris Studio. So it would be interesting to hear from the engineers there about what how it's being built and how exactly they're storing the data, or the data meaning the fields and table names as well. Yeah.
So John, that's your mission. Get us a Claris engineer to come on the podcast and explain the schema to us. You have a job to do now. Yes, Andy.
No, that's it. I want to play with it a little bit. I want it to get a little bigger teeth so that it can really do some more stuff. It seems really.
And they have a whole new calculation. The calculations are different than the operators are slightly different than they are in FileMaker. So there's, because you can now create calculated fields, or you can use calculation, the calculation editor, kind of the same way we do in FileMaker. You're using it in different areas in Claris Studio as well. So there's some more advanced stuff happening there for sure.
That's all the time we have for today. John, Zandon, Kate, Joe, Russell, Jacob, thank you for taking the time to shed some light on Claris Studio. Until next time, now go get back to work. Not you, John, you're with the family, but all the rest of you, get back to work.
Bye.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you for spending your time with us at the FileMaker DevCast today. We hope you found something useful, something thought-provoking, and something to take into your own development approach. Things that help you to be more productive and to allow you and your team to get more done in less time. Find us online at portagebay.com and filemakerdevcast.com, and also on social media at FM DevCast and Portage Bay. Let us know if we can help you or your company with modernizing your approaches and streamlining your workflow. We look forward to seeing you at the next DevCast.